Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Rowe. We're looking in geometry. This is part A, and we're going to focus on a similar example to number 9. Um, Again, if you are in this course, you're going to have to learn to deal with proofs. Proofs are not as difficult as you may think they are, but it's just you've got to understand the steps to get to the end. And so what you got to do in the beginning is go through the thought process to help you get to the end. So let's take a look at what we have to do here. So in this one, we are given that L is parallel to M. So these two lines are parallel. Now, based on that, there are some rules that we learned in this lesson about angle relationships that are true. For example, angle 1 and angle 2 are same side interior and they're supplementary. Angle 1 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles and they are congruent. So you've got to know these things in order to do the proof. So if you haven't wrote those down, studied them, and understood them, go back and do that now before you try to complete this proof. So now what else are we told here? We're told that 1 is congruent to 7. So angle 1 over here is congruent to angle 7. And we're trying to show that A and B are parallel. So we want to show that these two are parallel. So now, before you do any proof, you need to walk through the steps of what you're going to do before you write it down. If you don't do that, you're going to kind of get lost in what to do. So what am I going to do here? Well, what I want to do here is I have to somehow show that a relationship here somehow can relate to that angle right there. So the one that kind of sticks out to me, because we have a postulate that we learned that will help us here, is that this angle right here is congruent to that angle right there. And those are corresponding angles. So we've got a corresponding angles postulate that we can use. Well, I already know that 1 and 7 are congruent to each other. That was a given piece of information. Now, since 1 is congruent to 3 and 1 is congruent to 7, so we've got 1 is congruent to 3 and 1 is congruent to 7, I can use transitive property to say that these two are congruent to each other. Now, once I get corresponding angles congruent, then the postulate, its converse, also would be true. So I can use the corresponding angles postulate again to say that these two angles are, or these two lines are parallel. So that's the steps I'm going to take. Now I just need to write them down. So remember, we have statements and reasons here. So we've got statements and we have reasons. Sorry about that. Okay. Statements and reasons. Each statement has to have a reason. The reasons can be given, the reasons can be definitions, the reasons can be theorems or postulates. It can't be things like it's in the picture, or it can't be things like it's the proof. No, it has to be a definition, theorem, postulate, some kind of rule that we talked about that you can apply. So what's my first thing here? Well, I have to start with something that's given. I can't do anything unless I use something that I know is true. So I know that L is parallel to M, and that was a given piece of information. So there's given. All right, now based on that given, that's where we got these two were congruent to each other. So my second reason, or my second statement, can be that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and that's by corresponding angles. We can say corresponding angles. And that's a perfectly good reason, and that's a congruence. All right, so, and what else did I know? I'm given this. This will be my next step, because that's something I have to know in order to do the following. So step 3 here. be that angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. And how do we know that? Well, that was given to us. All right, so we've got angle 1 congruent to angle 3. We've got angle 1 congruent to angle 7. So since these two angles are congruent to the same angle, then they are also congruent to each other. So that would be statement 4. That angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. And what's the reason? Transitive property. Okay, so once I have that, I now have corresponding angles being congruent, and the only way that corresponding angles can be congruent is if these two lines are parallel. So now I can go ahead and make that statement. And I can state that A is parallel to B, and the corresponding angles posture. So I hope this helps you get through number 9 and lesson 5. Again, I've given you some of this stuff already. So just kind of go and look and see what you need to do to make yours fit what this says. And if you still struggle with this, the best thing to do is to make an appointment for a help session. You can let me know in a teacher message, but making a help session so I can walk you through is going to be the best thing to do.